Now is the time for the election of the president of the 2025 Southern Baptist Convention Pastors Conference to be held next year in Dallas, Texas. We will hear nominations in just a moment. Just a reminder, each nominator will have 3 minutes to speak for his candidates. After all nominations are finished, we will vote. At this time, I welcome to the podium Dean and Sarah, who is from City Church in Tallahassee, Florida.
Greetings. I'm here to nominate Dr. Brad Witt, the senior pastor of Abilene Baptist Church in Augusta, Georgia, to be the president of the 2025 Pastors Conference. And I have to be honest, before making this nomination, I knew the president of the Pastors Conference was a thing, and I knew they were responsible for picking out a slate of preachers. But beyond that, I didn't really know or understand all that it required to be president of the conference. Y'all, it is a lot. Do you know how much money the president of the Pastors Conference has to raise to put on the conference? All of it. Like hundreds of thousands of dollars, all of it. Do you know how much the president of the Pastors Conference gets paid? Nothing at all. It's a volunteer position. Do you know what kind of thanks they get? A bunch of jabronis on the internet complaining about what preachers were selected and why their conference lineup would have been so much better. Here's the bottom line. To be the president of the Pastors Conference, you have to really, really want to do it. And I've got good news. Dr. Brad Witt really wants to do it. And not only that, but I believe he can and will do it with excellence. If you spend more than 5 minutes with Brad, you're going to learn at least 3 things. One, he loves his family. Brad is married to his high school sweetheart, Kim, and they have 4 kids, Laura Kate, Jack, Benjamin, and Jonathan. He loves his church that he pastors. Brad has been the pastor of Abilene Baptist Church for more than 12 years, and in that time, they've seen over 800 believers baptized. And number 3, he loves, and I mean loves, Adrian Rogers. Brad will be quick to tell you that he worked for Dr. Rogers, and that Dr. Rogers was his mentor and pastor. He has lots of Adrian Rogers stories, and he loves to tell them. And who can blame him? If I had even so much a cup of coffee with Dr. Rogers, the first line of my bio would read, Dean and Sarah once had a cup of coffee with Adrian Rogers. Well, all jokes aside, the Pastors Conference is important in Southern Baptist life. It can serve as a thermostat that sets the temperature for our annual meeting. It should be a time that refreshes pastors, refocuses our hearts, and reminds us of the gospel mission that is the centerpiece of our cooperation, just like it's been this year under Dr. Rummage's leadership. Brad Witt loves preaching, he loves pastors, so please cast your vote for Dr. Brad Witt, and you can rest assured that when you show up in Dallas next summer, he will have worked faithfully and tirelessly all year to put together a pastors conference that will be a blessing to Southern Baptists. So please vote for this senior pastor, former church planter, and proud Southern Baptist, Dr. Brad Witt.
Our second nomination will come from Noah Hicks, who is from Church of the River Mills in Athens, Alabama.
I'm happy to nominate Dr. Chris Bolt for president of the 2025 Pastors Conference. Charles Spurgeon once said, "Visit many good books, but live in the Bible." And such a statement is applicable for every believer, especially for those called to pastoral ministry. And this quote reminds me of Pastor Chris. You probably have never heard of him before. Pastor Chris is not a celebrity or a megachurch pastor. And we know that this is a long shot, because he's just an ordinary Southern Baptist pastor who lives in the Bible. Pastor Chris has visited many good books as he did his studies at the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. While visiting many good books is true of Pastor Chris, that is not his crowning work. And I know this from firsthand experience because he mentored me. He currently serves as a pastor at Village Church in Richmond, Virginia. Previously, he pastored rural churches in Alabama and Tennessee. He was and is committed to expository preaching from God's Word because he desires to live in the Bible, and he knows that the gospel of Jesus Christ is ultimately all that he has. While non-offensive, feel-good, lighthearted preaching rises, Pastor Chris is committed to preach the word in season and out of season. While many look to the accolades of a man, being a pastor calls for us to look at his character over and above those accolades. He's not only a faithful pastor, he is a faithful husband and father to his 4 children. Pastor Chris is a man who seeks to live in the Bible in the confines of his home. He is diligent to love his family and seeks for them to know the Word and be nourished by it. As a young man called to pastoral ministry, Pastor Chris has stood by my side as a brother, a mentor, and encourager. While in college and pursuing God's call on my life, Pastor Chris took the time to teach me Hebrew and Greek every Thursday morning, very early, so that I would have a foundation for seminary. He served as my mentor and field supervisor as I worked towards an MDiv at Midwestern Seminary, teaching me everything he knew about pastoral ministry. And even as I am an SBC church planter and pastor now, Pastor Chris has been a continual source of wisdom, encouragement, and friendship because he has a desire to see the next generation of pastors be equipped for the call to preach the word. If elected to this position, Pastor Chris will build a conference of ordinary pastors with a focus on ordinary pastors and a Great Commission future. I'm happy to nominate for the 2025 Pastors Conference, Pastor Chris Bolt. Thank you.
Our third nomination will come from Fred Luter, who is from Franklin Avenue Baptist Church in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Thank you, Dr. Rummage. My name is Fred Luter. I'm a messenger of Franklin Avenue Baptist Church in New Orleans. I'm indeed delighted and excited to place into nomination the name of D.J. Horton for election of the office of the President of the Southern Baptist Convention Pastors Conference. Dr. D.J. Horton has served as senior pastor of Church at the Mill for 20 years, where the church has grown to impact its neighborhood, its community, and its city with the gospel of Jesus Christ. DJ is a PK, amen, a preacher's kid, raised in a pastor's home in Alabama. DJ and his wife Laurel have been happily married for 23 years and have been blessed with 6 children. DJ's dedication to his family mirrors his steadfast commitment to his calling. DJ's role as a pastor and family man has prepared him for this day. His educational journey includes a Bachelor of Science in Education from Auburn University, where he also was a member of the football team, Master of Divinity and Expository Preaching from New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary, and a Doctor of Ministry in Biblical Exposition from Southeastern Theological Seminary. Yes, DJ's education in ministry has prepared him for this day. Under Pastor Horton's leadership and commitment to biblical expositional preaching, Church at the Mill has experienced remarkable growth and expansion from a congregation of 600 in 2004 to over 4,000 across 3 campuses. The church has been recognized as one of the fastest growing churches in America. DJ's strategic vision is to plant healthy churches with preaching pastors focusing on the gospel. Yes, DJ's pastoral leadership has prepared him for this day. Beyond the pulpit, DJ has always had a passion for equipping and helping pastors in the local church. He loves pastors. He mentors pastors locally, and he encourages pastors nationally through his living, worthy ministries. DJ, through his sermons, his blogs, and podcasts, empowers individuals across the country to live lives worthy of the gospel of Jesus Christ. He has been heavily involved in the Southern Baptist Convention and multiple leadership positions, such as chairman of the South Carolina Sexual Abuse Task Force, trustee of the Charleston Southern University, trustee with the New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary, and president of the South Carolina Baptist Convention. Yes, DJ's heart for pastors and the SBC has prepared him for this day. Finally, DJ's impact as a preacher has opened many speaking opportunities at colleges, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, conferences, and even as one of the preachers at the Southern Baptist Convention Pastors Conference in 2003. Oh yes, DJ's preaching has prepared him for this day. Therefore, brothers and sisters, as I get a tap on my shoulder to close, because of DJ's role as a pastor, because of DJ's education and ministry, because of DJ's pastoral leadership, because of DJ's heart for pastors, because of DJ's gift for preaching, please join me today by voting for DJ Horton as president of the Southern Baptist Convention Pastors Conference. God bless you and God keep you.
Nominations for president of the 2025 Pastors Conference are now officially closed. We have 3 candidates. One candidate must receive over 50% of the vote to be declared the winner. If no one candidate receives over 50% in the initial election, we will hold a runoff vote for the top 2 candidates. If needed, that runoff will happen near the beginning of our evening session. Right now, I've asked Southern Baptist Convention Registration Secretary Don Currents to come and to instruct us in our voting procedure.
Thank you. Good afternoon. As we get our ballots, I don't want to assume anything, but please, I want you to hold up your yellow covered ballots. Only the yellow one. If you're colorblind, please talk to your neighbor, okay? Because if you use this one, it won't count. So again, make sure it's the yellow cover. Please take out ballot number 1. I'm gonna make this easy, guys. Take out ballot number 1. It's going to be a blue color ballot and tear it out. Now, there are 16 ballots in here, but I'm just going to do number 1. And just as a reminder, voting by proxy is not allowed. You have to be in this hall if you're going to be voting for this current election. Again, it's marked very clearly in the right corner, ballot number 1. So what we're going to do is this. I'm doing 1, 3, and 5. You know my system. But for number 1, it's Brad Witt. So if you wish to vote for Brad Witt, please put an X on number 1. If you wish to vote for Chris Bolt, put an X on number 3. So Chris Bolt is number 3. If you wish to vote for DJ Horton, place an X on the square number 5. Now I'm going to repeat that. For Brad Witt, please vote, put an X on square 1. For Chris Bolt, put an X on square 3. And for DJ Horton, place an X on square number 5. And on behalf of the Teller Committee, we ask do not fold your ballots, because that really does double our time in counting. When finished, please pass them to your right. Pass them to your right, and usher will collect those ballots.
At this time, I want to recognize Don Currents, our SBC Registration Secretary. He's going to come with a report on our election results.
Good evening. At the time of this last ballot, 823 pastors casted ballots. That was 823. This is how it came out. Brad Witt, he received 279 votes, which represent 33.9%. Chris Bolt, he received 182 votes. That represented 22.11%. DJ Horton received 361 votes, representing 43.86%. So therefore, there was not, again, someone has to receive 50%, which there was not. So there will be a runoff tonight. Now, are the numbers on the screen? So you've seen them all. Therefore, I won't have to repeat it then, since you see the numbers. There was one disallowed vote in this. So therefore, there's going to be a runoff. So at this time, I will make sure, because there was some confusion at the beginning of the last ballot, we are using the pastor ballot, which are the yellow ballots. If you do not have a set of ballots that are yellow, they're back at the guest relation, which is the back of the convention center to my right. This is the one you need. So if you do not have this set of ballots as a pastor you wish to vote, you need to go back there now and please get a set of these ballots. The other set of ballots, which are orange, are for tomorrow for the SBC. If you use those, it's disallowed. So again, if you as a pastor have not received the yellow set of ballots, please go back to guest relations now and get one, please, so you can vote for this next election. Okay. At this time, we are going to turn to, it's going to be a blue ballot, number 3. We are going to turn to ballot number 3. And this, again, is a blue color to be using for this next election. Again, you must be in the hall if you're going to be voting. And please just make sure it's ballot number 3. Because unfortunately, we had people last time use ballot 2 in voting. So that's why I'm doing 3. Okay. This time, this is how we're going to mark the ballot. For Brad Witt, okay, it'll be number 1. So if you're voting for Brad Witt, since he's one to the top candidates, Brad Witt, you vote number 1. If you wish to vote for DJ Horton, you'll mark the square 3 with an X. So again, Brad Witt will be the box number 1. DJ Horton, it will be the box number 3. Again, this is on your third ballot, number 3. Since I see people still coming in, I'll say it one more time. We are using the blue ballot number 3 for the runoff election. If you wish to vote for Brad Witt, it's box number 1. Please put an X in box number 1. For DJ Horton, please put a X on box number 3. After you complete marking your ballot, we'll pass them to your right. And as I always request, please do not fold them. Just turn them upside down if you wish for people not to see how you voted. But please pass them to your right. And ushers, you may begin. Now, ushers, please notice there's still people moving in, so make sure we collect all the ballots from people. Thank you.
I'd like to recognize Don Currents to come with a report on our election runoff.
Okay. At the time of the second vote we had, there was 605 pastor casting ballots for the office of the president. Brad Witt received 238 votes, which represented 39.34%. DJ Horton received 363 votes, representing exactly 60%. There was 4 disallowed. So again, Brad Witt received 238. DJ Horton received 363, which represented 60% of the votes. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Brother Don. And we congratulate DJ Horton, who will serve as our Pastors Conference president for next year.